So, true story. Over the weekend, I read a profile in the New York Times, and the profile came from the New York Times' Canadian correspondent. Dan Bilevsky is based in Montreal, and the New York Times Twitter account tweets it out, and I log into the New York Times website. It's right in front of me. I said, geez, this is getting a lot of attention here, and it mentions Montreal in the headline. I said, geez, I got to read this story. So I end up reading this story about a Montreal janitor that becomes this city's king of Bar Mitzvah photography. Gentleman's name, Braulio Rocha, and I looked immediately. I read this story. I said, what a great story. So I went on to Instagram because I'm figuring it's a photographer. They'll have an Instagram. I immediately find them on Instagram. I send them a little note. I say, listen, I just read this story about you, this profile in the New York Times. Would you come on the show? And Braulio writes back almost right away, and he says, and I was so floored. I was floored by his answer. He goes, I'm a big fan of your radio show. I listen to it every morning while I'm editing my work. So this next interview is a really great story, and it was meant to be. It's our pleasure to welcome Braulio Rocha onto the program, Bar Mitzvah photographer extraordinaire right here in Montreal. Braulio, welcome to the show.
Good morning, Elias. Thank you so much for having me.
So why don't you start off here by telling our listeners your incredible story about how you ended up in photography professionally, and especially bar mitzvah photography. Tell us your story.
Well, think about a perfect storm of events. I was a janitor at Congregation Shar Shemayim in Westmount. And this one morning, I'm doing my duties of janitor, right? And there is a Jewish ceremony about to happen. And the photographer that has been hired by the family didn't show up. I don't remember if he had a car accident or flat tire, whatever happened, but he wasn't going to make it. And I always carry a camera on the trunk of my car. You know, I love photography. And immediately, without thinking, I reached out to my boss, who was also Portuguese, is the superintendent at the building. And I told him, listen, I love doing photography. I have an opportunity here to do something. Do you mind? Could you find somebody else to fill in for me? And I'm going to ask the family if they want me to take pictures for them, and I'm not going to charge them. I'm not a professional photographer. And I asked him for permission even before I talked to the family. Like, it was a pure leap of faith. I had no idea what was going to happen. And he accepted, and then I reached out, like the grandmother is panicking, and I told her, look, I'm an amateur photographer. I have a camera in my car. I can go and take pictures of the event if you want, and I'm not going to charge you anything because I'm not a professional. And then, I'm wearing my uniform, my janitor uniform, with a mop in my hand, offering myself to do this for a family. Everybody's so well dressed, and they talk for 5 seconds, and the grandmother say, okay, let's do it. Thank you so much, appreciate it. So I went in and took the pictures, and no fear in my heart. Adrenaline took over me. And when I went to deliver the pictures a week later, the grandmother was so happy that she gave me $150 or $180 at the time, and so it began.
So this is incredible. And Braulio, you're a Portuguese immigrant. You hadn't met a Jewish person before setting foot in the synagogue you worked at in Montreal. And since then, from that one moment, as that fate delivers you this moment where you get to be a photographer at this one event, the business has taken off. Tell us more.
Yeah, it was incredible. So there's a perfect storm of events happening in front of me. At the time, my wife, and by the way, there's no Rocha studio, there's no success without my wife next to me, helping me out in this journey. My wife, she was working in a company. She was a designer for a construction company. Her company closed, and suddenly she finds herself without a job. And we had a mortgage to pay, car payments, and it was a bit panic moment that we had. And I told her, look, this family just gave me $180. They love the pictures. Why don't we try to do this? Let's try to do this. You know Photoshop, Lightroom. I know photography. Let me try to do photography. I will keep my day job. You will do the edit. You will edit the pictures for me. I will take the pictures. You will do the edit. It was a bit scary. It was a jump into the unknown. There's we don't even know if this is going to work out. And so my wife also took a leap of faith. So instead of going out there and finding a new job, she said, okay, let's give it a shot. And then I started advertising like crazy. I started hustling and knocking on doors, and I know how to do this. Give me a shot. And I was obviously, when you start and you're creating a portfolio, you're creating connections, so you don't really charge a lot of money to shoot the event. And it's a belief in yourself. You have to believe in yourself in order for others to believe in you, in the product that you're delivering. And the community, the incredible Jewish community of Montreal. I didn't know anybody that was Jewish before I came to Montreal. I knew nothing about Jewish traditional culture. And the community, they also took a leap of faith in this Portuguese Catholic Roman photographer who knew nothing about their culture. And they took a leap of faith. They believed in me, and they accepted me. And then it took off. It was incredible. It was unbelievable.
We're speaking with Braulio Rocha and getting his incredible story, being a Portuguese immigrant to Montreal and now being one of the most sought-after bar mitzvah and wedding photographers in this city. Braulio, I want to read one part of this profile in the New York Times. And it's a quote from you saying, "I remember thinking, you're just a janitor. But I said to myself, it's now or never. I guess you could say I'm the Canadian dream." Tell us about that Canadian dream and where you're at, where your family's at now.
Yeah, in Canada, I listen to your show every day, and I listen to Aaron Rand every day. And I've called a couple of times to give my opinion about it. And I hear a lot of people have Canada for granted. A lot of people complain about Montreal, complain about Canada. I think there is no better place in the world to live. There is a lot of opportunities out there. You just need to open your eyes and look around you and listen to the environment. Everything around us is information being given by us, by God, and it's up to us to decide what to do. And what happened was there was that moment in time where that information was being given to me. If you know what I mean, I'm talking metaphorically, right? Mm-hmm. And this moment, this happens to all of us in life, and it is up to us to make a decision in a split second that can change your life forever. And that one morning, it was like a lightning strike, and if I had taken a second of hesitation, I would still be working as a janitor at the Shara Shemayim. And when this happens, you have to make a decision. You have to take that leap of faith. And Canada and Montreal still offers a lot of opportunities for you out there. I will never understand how can we complain about this wonderful land that we live in. It's where is my family now? We have a comfortable life. We have a thriving business. I'm very proud of what me and my wife have achieved together. We give ourselves a comfortable life. And things are looking up. 2020 in the lockdown, working in the event industry, there was no events. So instead of complaining, I put my sleeves up and I actually grabbed my car. I could have taken CERB, but I decided to grab my car and do deliveries. We had savings, we had money, but I didn't want to touch our savings. So I went and worked. went and did deliveries. I was making money while there was no event. I also educated myself. I made myself a better photographer, a better business owner. And then I started a Facebook group because I want to give back. I love to give back. I want to teach other photographers how to improve their skills, how to make money, how to give their families a better life, put their kids through good schools and buy a better house and a better car and all those things. And I created a group on Facebook for event photographers. And that group has 4,300 photographers from all over the world who come to me for inspiration and mentorship. And all it took was initiative. Take initiative. It is up to you to decide your own destiny, not others. And that's what I did. That's simply what I did. It's really not that difficult.
Not that difficult, but you know what? You also have to back it up with exceptional work. And clearly, is this true, Braulio? You're booked into 2023 right now?
Yeah. For bar mitzvahs, yes.
Wow. And you've got a whole team. You've got you're employing a whole bunch of people as well.
Yeah, so in the event photography is seasonal. So I don't have a whole team full time working every single day with me. In the height of the event season, when things get really busy and really complicated, that's when the logistic is also complicated. And I employ a full team of videographers and photographers and assistants. I have assistants just to set up my lights, because what you see in my Instagram, there's a lot of production behind the stage. There's a lot of setting up of lights to create those cinematic, moody type of pictures that I like to create to deliver a message. I believe I'm delivering a message. A bar mitzvah, which is I do a lot of weddings, but I shoot more bar mitzvahs than weddings. A bar mitzvah is a rite of passage, right? There's a story happening. There's a message being delivered, and I believe in God, so I'm going to talk about God. There's a message being delivered by God, and it's a message of life, of enlightenment, of guidance. And there's a whole production behind the scenes that I use to create that message. That we don't see it with our eyes when we're there, but I see it with my heart, and I want my pictures to tell their story, to send that message, especially to a lot of friends and family. And this is very personal. I didn't know anything about the culture when I came to Canada. I only knew what people would tell me, older than me. Some people, like in everything in life, some people will tell me good things, others will tell me bad things. And I'm hoping that through my images, I can show how beautiful and colorful and embracing this culture that I've learned to love, and themselves learn to love me and accept me. I hope everybody sees it.
Braulio, one last question, and something you're touching on right now. As a Roman Catholic, and now working so closely, with so many members of the Jewish community, and the connections that you formed and the bonds that you formed. If we could end off, I'd love for you to speak to that.
The connections that I've formed with the community, you mean?
Yes.
Oh my God, I have. My clients are not my clients. They're my family. They're my friends. They give me the responsibility to capture the most important moments in their lives. It's a huge responsibility, that I take with love, and they accept me in their house. And after, when the job is done, most of my clients text me randomly, just checking up on me. How are you? Happy New Year. I saw that you have a daughter. Like I handle people as if it's family. We're all family. We're all a big family that live here in this beautiful city of Montreal. And that's the bond that I have with the community. And I feel at home when I go to a synagogue. Something that I said in an interview, and it's true. When I enter a synagogue, I always like to go earlier and sit down. Well, there's nobody else there, and it's dark, and I'm just myself. And I feel a connection. There's a connection between me and that community. In a way, it was meant to be. I come to Canada, of all places to start working. I start working in a synagogue. And on that moment, I was right there when their photographer couldn't make it. If this isn't a plan, I don't know what it is, because I don't believe in coincidence.
Braulio, listen, the feedback I'm getting right now in real time on our text line, on social media, as this interview goes on, is incredible. Your story is fantastic. If people want to see your Instagram, by the way, if you go to my Instagram, @EliasMakos, you'll find right away in my story a link to Braulio's photography account on Instagram. Thank you so much for coming on the program. Thank you so much for sharing your story. It really is incredible.
Thank you for having me. It was a true honor to be in your show. I appreciate it.
The New York Times calls him the Bar Mitzvah Photography King of Montreal. That's Braulio Rocha on the line with us this morning.